He's the myth. He's the legend. He's the scientist with all the answers and all the questions. It's time for another episode of Alex's Science Corner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Science. Down, boy. Down, boy. Down.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try and learn how to...
Girl. Down, girl.
I'm going to have to learn how to use the noise reduction filters.
Nice to have Bobby back.
Yeah. Because that spikes the meters.
You missed me.
We did. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that spikes the meters when I try to get the videos of this created.
Alex, what's going on in the wide world of science, my friend?
Okay, first up, researchers may have found a biomarker for Alzheimer's disease. And why this is important is because right now they can't know for sure if a person has Alzheimer's disease until the autopsy. So what they have to do is go by symptoms. And hopefully a person has enough symptoms, but by the time you have symptoms, it really is too late to do anything about it.
So that's why now there's if you keep your brain active, that's supposed to help.
Yeah, but again, it's all they know for sure is if you're keeping active, you might not have Alzheimer's, because it might be hiding a symptom too. So what they found is they may have found a biomarker for Alzheimer's through various tests. So it's got a long way to go before they're sure, but right now the signs are promising. What they can do about it...
And that means, excuse me, that means that'll lead to a future therapy, isn't that?
Right now, what the best they're hoping for at the moment is that they can delay the onset of the more severe symptoms. If they know ahead of time, they can delay how long it takes for the illness to go through you. So it's not going to stop it, because once you have Alzheimer's, you have Alzheimer's. It's how long it takes for it to progress to the point where it gets really, really bad.
Okay.
So if they can slow that down, but the earlier they start, the better it is for the person who's going to be suffering for it. And also their families too, because people caring for Alzheimer's patients, it's really tough for them too.
Now, this marker, is it also for dementia? Because dementia is similar to Alzheimer's, but it's not Alzheimer's.
Right now, all they said in the article is that it's for tracking Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Because they're monitoring a certain part of the brain for a certain type of activity. So Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. Is it generic for all kinds of dementia? They haven't figured out that yet. It's a preliminary study. They've got enough to say that this is something that's worth continuing to research. Okay. Next one is scientists and astronomers have found a lot more organic compounds in various dust clouds in the universe. The great news is, great, we've discovered new stuff. The downside
E.T.?
No, it's actually the opposite. The reason this is a downer is that astronomers are hoping that these particular biomarkers would be an indication of life, because they had hoped that these kind of biomarkers or these particular organics could only be created either artificially by life forms or by intelligent life. But now that they're finding out in the universe, and something's buzzing, okay, so unfortunately, what that means is because they're now finding them in regular dust clouds, in galaxies, that means we can't use them to check to see if there's life on a particular planet, because they could be out anywhere, and so that doesn't mean that there's life there or not.
Why not? I don't get it. Why would that not be an indicator that
because if it can be found anywhere, that doesn't make that a special indicator.
Enough. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it could only be made by a living creature, then that would indicate that there's life.
There's ET.
But if it can be made without a living creature, then that does not indicate that there's life someplace. And unfortunately, what they found is that these molecules that they were hoping could only be made by living creatures can be made anywhere. So the good news is we discovered something new. The bad news is it's not going to help us in the future.
To find ET.
To find ET, right. Last article for today.
Oh, that looks like a mouse. Is that a little mouse?
It is a mouse. It is a mouse. Researchers in New York City are finding that mice that live in the city are genetically beginning to separate from the mice that live in the suburbs and in the parks.
They're hipsters.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, it is genetic, so that,
Feifel.
it's
Feifel comes to America.
what they're finding is that the mice in the cities are losing their genetic diversity, but they are separating out from the country mice or the mice in the suburbs. And one of the things that they're beginning to see is that the city mice are starting to develop a different type of not digestive tract, but city mice have different diet, and it's starting to affect the species.
And does that mean where they'll settle and eat?
Well, not so
Like,
much.
I mean,
so,
they won't come into they'll stop coming into my house and trying to eat my wiring or,
No, the country mice will continue to do that.
Yeah, country mice will continue to do that.
Unless the city mice go out for a weekend trip to your place.
Yes, in which case
But then they're still coming to my place.
Right, but they'll be looking for different things to eat. You see, instead of going for your wiring, they'll be going for your pizza. Because one of the things they found is that city mice, they have a much higher diet, but it's lower quality, so they eat more. So now their digestive system is beginning to change to deal with that. And that's going through the genetic population. The mice are changing as the generations are going through in the city.
Oh, God.
So
talk about Alzheimer's. What's the word for that?
Speciation.
No, they're evolving. They're evolving.
Yes, they are evolving, yes. Yeah. And this is where they're evolving and they're separating out. And that's what speciation is that you had one species and now they're in two different environments. And the two different groups are starting to evolve for their particular environment.
Okay, so recap on this story real quick. The mice in Manhattan, we're just talking Manhattan at the moment, the ones that live in Central Park are going to be different than the ones that live in
this city part of it.
Yeah, so I mean,
as opposed, because the ones that are living in the park.
So when you say in the city, you don't necessarily mean
in the urban, between the buildings, in the walls,
as opposed
on
to
the street, as
living actually
in the park or in the suburbs.
Okay.
Right, because again, they have a different diet that they have access to, and that is changing. The generations are changing to deal with that.
Okay.
All right.
Keep a cat.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions about the stories Alex just covered or anything else science-related, he'd love to hear from you right now at 203-837-9924.